Hi, I'm Chayale.
Hi, I'm Hindi. Welcome to your Relationshift. Join in our conversation where we explore
The nuance and beauty of Tura's perspective on relationships.
Hi, Sayla.
Hey.
I am so excited for today because we promised, so we're going to try to deliver some practical examples based on trust the connection, and I create with my thoughts, words, and intention. And we want our listeners to walk away with something really practical and realistic. We want them to walk away with something that they could really implement. So let's start.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I think the first thing that I wanted to say, and I feel like I say this a lot in my workshop, but maybe we haven't said this yet here, is there was a careful conditioning when it comes to the principles, like the layout, the buildup of the principles. There's intention in the order, in how we present it, in how we talk about it. And the reason for that is because we start with the most fundamentals of them all, right? And then build off of there to most relevant and sometimes hardest to actually implement. But there's a reason why we're kind of building up. That being said, when we talk about trust the connection, in order to actualize the trust the connection principle, we kind of have to build off of the other principles that we've been speaking about up until now. So we're not speaking out of a vacuum when we talk about trust the connection, because it's really hard to trust the connection, right? We've all tried to trust, but then we're grinding to a halt with fear. We're terrified of results. There's so much judgment. There's an intense amount of just feeling lost within ourselves. So it's hard to go to there, right? To go to trust the connection. I kind of look at trust the connection as one of the very first principles where we're kind of shifting gears into the actual relationship, where we're creating here, as opposed to kind of like dealing with all the things that we've been dealing with up until now. What has been lacking, what has been bothering us, what has been stopping us from feeling a flow. So trust the connection is the beginnings towards that creative relationship. And I just think it's important to say here, because in the examples that we're going to give, we're going to have to kind of like backpedal and look at what am I doing to help this situation, right? It's not just, oh, just trust the connection, because you can't, right? You can't unless you've been working on other things also up until now.
Yeah, it's a really important point. And what I think is interesting about how you put it is that stage one is, it's like the cleanup, creating that space that we spoke about, creating that space inside of ourselves, creating that space in the relationship, creating that space in our minds, in our hearts, in our bodies. And if we've done those steps, then we're ready to engage. We're ready to have an interaction or to approach an interaction because we're in a good space. And obviously it would be difficult if we skip those steps.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's give some examples. Let's make it more tangible. Let's see what we're talking about here. One of the first things that we talk about when we talk about trust the connection is kind of like a little technique, but it's really the underlying principle within the principle, which is the LCI. You want to talk about the LCI?
LCI, it's a fun acronym for love, care, intention. So what is the LCI? The LCI is looking at a interaction or some sort of activity or action that one's spouse or really the other will do that externally might not look like it's directed to you or like it's in the best interest of the relationship, and maybe sometimes even the opposite, but when you look deeper, you can find the love, care, intention. So when I'm coming from the perspective of I'm trusting the connection, then I know that if I'm going to look, I'm going to find a loving and caring intention in the activity or the action. So an example might be a husband saying something to his wife, like, let's say he comes home and he says, "Oh, well, the house is really a mess." Or he'll say, like, "Whoa, what happened here?"
Or relatable.
And then he might follow that up with, "We should probably get some cleaning help."
Mm.
So typically, a woman would feel criticized, hurt, and she might throw back a defensive response like, "What do you expect? I've been with the kids the whole day. Kids make a mess. I've been trying to clean. I'm at the edge. It's been a crazy day. Can't believe you would come in and say something like that.
Mm.
Don't you see that I've been making dinner? While I was making dinner, the kids were making a mess." Whatever it is, she's going to get very defensive because she's hurt. She feels attacked. It feels like she's been directly criticized.
Mm.
And then, obviously, that I guess it spirals from there. So it could just go back and forth. Every relationship has its different dynamic. They could either continue the argument or they could give each other the silent treatment. He could apologize. She's going to still be hurt. Whatever it is. The point is, I'm sure everyone listening to the example will know where things go from there in their relationship. So now we're looking at what would the trust the connection with the technique of the LCI bring to such a situation.
Beautiful. So I hear she gets really defensive. So using that LCI, right, the love, care, intention, is she's looking to see, with trust the connection in mind, that her husband wants to be her mashpia. He does really care about her. There's a baseline commitment there. Let me expect connection as opposed to disconnect. How could I look at this situation from a space of connection? So the LCI is love, care, intent, or intention. Is there some sort of love or care that he's trying to relate to her? So, like, let's say in this specific example, I could definitely relate to the woman who gets defensive immediately. That's definitely sometimes still my go-to, and I have to walk myself out of it. But if I could just stop for a moment, right? Just like take a deep breath and think, okay, I know this person loves me. I know he cares. Is he trying to attack me? Like, is he trying to criticize me? Is it possible for me to hear something different? And perhaps what he's trying to say is, without actually saying these exact words, is, I see that the house is overwhelming and I think we need some extra help. That doesn't mean that you're bad. That doesn't mean that you don't know how to keep house, or that you come from a dysfunctional home, or whatever it is that the beliefs that I technically really have inside myself about me that maybe I'm hearing in his words and therefore getting defensive around. If I was completely confident in myself and in just like my worthiness, I probably wouldn't get so defensive. But I'm hearing something in what he's saying and thinking, okay, he's attacking me. But really, he could just be saying, we need cleaning help, like just practically on the ground, looking around saying, we need more support. Just like, if you were to look at a regular situation that let's say, I don't know, your kid is going through, or your friend is going through, and thinking and making a friendly suggestion of like, hey, maybe this will help you. That's what I'm hearing him say to his wife in this situation. There could be love, care, intention behind it.
Yeah. So also, I'm hearing you using the buildup of the beliefs, like you mentioned before. There's the essential value piece, which is playing a big role. not questioning her value or her worth in that moment. And also she's in a space to even think, right? Sometimes a woman will tell me, how on earth would that come to me in the moment? So how on earth would that come to a woman in the moment? It would come to a woman who has already been through principles, A, B, and C. She's worked on her essential value. She's taking ownership. She's being very intentional about her thoughts, her words, her actions. And she's looking to connect, which I think is the key piece here. And it's a very important piece to remember for us in a relationship to remember, is that we're not looking to be right or wrong. We're not looking to even defend ourselves or protect ourselves. We're actually most often looking to connect. So maintain connection, deepen connection. So understanding that that's my goal. And I'm at a crossroads, that either this day, this afternoon, this evening is going to continue and turn into a night of disconnection where everyone's doing their own thing and not feeling good. It could be, I'm like steering wheels in my hand. I have the two directions in front of me. So we really want to see that. We really want to see it like that. Like in that moment, I can choose which way to go with this. And that's where the LCI comes in and tells you this could be a moment of connection. If you look at it and say, wow, my husband doesn't want me to be overwhelmed. My husband wants me to have more support. He wants things to be easier for me. And he's offering, suggesting help, which in most cases, women do want help. And then I can receive that, and that could actually develop into a very meaningful, special moment.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So like, what I'm hearing you say is you could even just like run through all the principles of what this woman is doing to even be able to trust the connection in that moment. There's the resetting of herself with essential value. There's her already being in that space of ownership, just like she's not in a state of absolute overwhelm. She's taking care of herself. So she even has just like mental space to consider, to think. She trusts the Mashpia Makabel dynamic, that there's a Mashpia here who wants to give to her, and she's being intentional about wanting to receive from him. So she's like already has this awareness of, hey, let me look out. Mashpia wants to give. I also want to receive. And then it also sounds like she's not in that space of lack. Instead, she's looking for the abundance, looking for where there is connection, looking where there is commitment. And she's open. Like there's like, it sounds like this like openness to explore, to be curious, to see. And what also the most important piece that I'm hearing here is also like an honesty, like just like an honesty with herself. I know for myself, having been in a very dishonest place for a very long time, like, oh yeah, things are great, everything's fine, till suddenly I realized things were not fine and actually sought help. Now, not everybody's like me. That was a huge piece of like switching to be a more honest person with even just myself, forget about other people. But that honesty with oneself is so huge. It's really raw. And sometimes it takes a lot of building yourself to even be able to look at the fact, oh, I got defensive there. Why? Like, what's underneath that? What happened there? That willingness to plumb the depths with an honest look also takes some work, right, to be able to get there. So,
yeah, I think it's really true. I think something that can help, our words can help us, meaning our words can lead us and guide us. So even a woman being able to say something in that moment like, whoa, I was about to get defensive because I feel insecure about the state of the house and I feel like it reflects poorly on me. But I know that's not where you're coming from. I know that you just want me to feel supported and you want to be there for me. So you could let your words carry you.
gorgeous. Can we just say gorgeous? Loved that. Like there's something so honest about and real about just like speaking it through, like in the moment. Love that. And I also want to say that I know we're making it sound very linear, like this has to lead to this has to lead to that. It doesn't have to be like that. Everyone's their own kind of learner and implementer. I know that's not a word, but I guess for me, all I'm trying to do is trying to make it sound as practical, give you all the steps possible to help you along. But some women can hear this and say, trust the connection. Cool, I could do that, and just jump right into it. So I don't want to limit anyone. We're just.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, meaning it goes either way. If it sounds like really, really hard and like too big of a step, okay, so then dial it back and start with a more fundamental principle, even though they're all fundamental. If it feels, like you said, like some people have shared that this feels like this just gave them the freedom to lean in and run with it and just kind of dive into their relationship wholeheartedly, for sure. It does have that, it is that powerful, and you could let it be your springboard to get to the other principles.
Okay, so another example that I've heard before was, imagine this woman who's like making a stew or a soup, and her husband comes home and he's like, why are you making a soup? We have leftovers from yesterday. And it's like her experience is like a sense of crumbling. Like, don't you see what I do? I literally cleaned the house before you came home. I plastered a smile on my face. I'm making this soup for you. I went to work all day. Like, so much could come up for her. And even in just a workshop setting, I remember a woman hearing about the LCI, and she was like, oh my goodness, I never saw it. And I remember thinking like, wait, what? Like, I didn't even know what she was talking about. She gave this example and she said, he just doesn't want me to work hard. Like, it just dawned on her. He doesn't want me to work hard. He doesn't want me to put in any effort. He actually is exactly saying how much he sees what I am doing, how I worked a whole day and how the house is clean. And like, and he doesn't want me to also make a pot of soup because he doesn't want me to be stressed and overworked and in that space. And when he sees me standing over the soup like this with the, he knows that this was not good for me, that this was pushing me over the edge. And he's trying to give me the gift of not pushing myself. And he's trying to be easygoing. And meanwhile, I'm getting all defensive. It was literally from one of my workshops.
That's awesome that she was like, she clicked.
Yeah.
She got it. Yeah. And there's the flexibility there. He's saying, I'm not high maintenance. Lean into that. I'm going to love you and be happy with you if we're eating yesterday's leftovers. So don't kill yourself. Don't stress out. Like, let me give that to you. Let me give you that flexibility, my easygoingness.
Right. Which could be hard for her to even, believe. For many reasons, either because she didn't grow up like that, or maybe she herself likes fresh food, or she has this principle that she has to serve fresh food every single night, and there has to be a protein and a vegetable and a carb. And, I'm saying there's so many reasons why she's doing this, and he's trying to give her an out.
Yeah. So let's say, just to walk through even the response of like, what would that sound like? That would sound like, it's a relief to know that you're okay to eat leftovers and that you're open to that option. And also, if she really is wanting fresh food, either for herself or she likes it, there's also an ownership and an honesty. Like you were saying before, she might even want to think about that and say, you know what, I actually made it because I really don't like leftovers and I wanted something fresh, and, I thought we could both enjoy it.
Which is beautiful, but then don't be resentful towards him. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But I think that's where the honesty comes in, right? If there's a challenge in giving something to yourself, so then you need your husband to want it so that you can make it for him, so that you could have it. That's kind of where it gets a little tricky. So if you know that there's no pressure from his end to make fresh food, and the only reason to make it is because you want it, so then the whole energy around what you're making can change.
Right.
I think also an important piece is that like you were saying before, there is a creative element to this principle. So you're not in black and white territory. You're looking to channel the comment to connection. It could be, it is the type of comment that has potential to go either way. It could be that the comment was not made with the purest of intentions. Could be there was a mix in what he was saying. But at the end of the day, if you trust the connection, then you know that there is love and care in there, and you're going to extract it and go with it. That's where the creative power lies.
I love that. I love that. Like, you're choosing what to receive. You don't have to choose to receive any negativity or any, other byproducts that might be coming along.
Right. If there's a bite there, you don't have to take the bite.
Right.
Okay. So another example that popped into my head was, let's say a husband says something about his wife's style, or the clothes that she's wearing, in the form of, why don't you go shopping with your sister? Or I heard you talking the other day about women getting their palate done. Would you want to do that? And a woman might think to herself, again, from that defensive place, my husband doesn't find me attractive. My husband doesn't like my style. He's not happy. He's not appreciating. And again, the spiral for a woman obviously gets very intense. It's a very sensitive area. And she could feel very, very hurt. It's very, very personal. Your style is very personal. What she's chosen to wear. She thought she looked good. Now she's questioning herself. She's a mess. She's all over the place. Okay, so trust the connection. What is my husband bringing to me? What can I receive? Again, it's an offer. It's an offer for me to treat myself. He maybe heard that it was something that I took interest in and just wanted to be generous, wanted to offer. Maybe he wants to see his wife feeling more confident in her style, stepping into her style more. So she can receive that, and again, let it be a moment of connection, a moment of receiving a gift. She can lean into it and see the opportunity there.
Yeah. I do have to say, it's a really big one. Like, body image is huge. And probably every woman out there can work on essential value when it comes to body image, because, I mean, when we get pregnant, like, I feel like every single woman probably can relate to this. Women who have not yet gotten pregnant, I mean, can still relate. Body image is a big deal, especially when you look at the secular world and you are bombarded with the images and beliefs that you are only worthy if you are beautiful, and you are only great if you are, flawless. And so it could be an immense amount of, it is, let's just be honest, it is an immense amount of pressure on women. So I think before anything, there also has to be just like this reframing within our own selves of how much am I looking outside of me for external validation when it comes to my body image and my beauty. How much of that weighs into how I feel about myself. It's a really big one to explore, especially, for example, a woman who may have heard some sensitivity from her husband around that, meaning maybe he made comments, or maybe he told her directly. And that's so painful for her to hear that in some way her body is not anything less than perfect. It's a hugely painful situation to be in. And again, that's why I'm discussing it, because it's real. And I don't want to bring something triggering to the table, even though I am. And of course, if someone's in that situation, I think that she should seek a coach to support her through that, because that is very painful to work through. And at the same time, I think I create with my thoughts, words, and intention is such a powerful principle to work through here, because I've spoken to so many women in a situation like this, and they thought they'd never be able to get up again, away from the belief that their husband doesn't think that they are attractive or beautiful, or because in certain ways he has relayed that to them in whatever ways they did. And through working on essential value and taking ownership over themselves, and choosing what they want to create in their relationship, and choosing what they want to receive here, not here, move forward with, instead of just cooking with negativity, it's life-changing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I hear that you're saying, it's a tough one to bring up, because it's so sensitive,
yeah,
and which is why we are bringing it up, because it's so relevant to so many women. It can be such a point of tension in a relationship, such a point of hurt, distance, frustration. And I think what's really, really empowering about this work is for a woman to understand that, yes, there are impossible beauty standards that we live in, around, and that really can put an immense amount of pressure and cause a woman to really struggle with her security. However, in the safety of your relationship, understanding the mashpia makabel dynamic, and this is something that we'll maybe hear reflected back to us from women, from the stories of successful coaching in this process, is that what men appreciate and find most attractive is a receptivity. Ultimately, that's the most feminine thing. That's the most beautiful thing. So that could give a lot of freedom to women, because beauty standards, you'll never get there. It's always a chase. There's always another new skin product, makeup product, workout,
diet.
shaitel, whatever it is. There's always the next one that, it's exhausting. To know that in my relationship, again, trust the connection. We are a unit. We're each other's people. I'm my husband's person, and what that means is I'm his receiver. And a woman can feel the confidence of being attractive to her husband when she steps into that receptive place. She'll feel her beauty. I think it's fair to say she'll feel her beauty. She'll see her husband being drawn to that when she's able to receive. So even in this example, maybe even more so, because it's such a powerful place to bring your receptivity, because it's such a sensitive place, for a woman to turn around to her husband and say, you want me to feel good. You want me to feel beautiful. And that's great. That's amazing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, doesn't mean that she has to run to the gym. Doesn't mean that she has to go, right? Or she has to go get that palette done, or she right away runs with her sister to go get clothes. She doesn't necessarily have to do what he's suggesting. But the most important win would be for her to hear that he cares. And again, like we were saying before, I think that the principles build to be able to hear that. That essential value piece is so important. The taking ownership over myself, the honesty, the trusting that he's my mashpia. I want to be receptive here. I also want to choose to be receptive here. I don't want to get defensive.
That will bring me to connection, which is what I want. So
Right. Let's just talk about the opposite for a second, and then soon we'll close. But Imagine if I chose to receive that he's criticizing my dressing ability, or the colors that I choose to wear, or whatever it is, right? Let's say I choose to believe that, and then I get defensive, and then I affirm that back to him. Why? What's wrong with purple? I like purple, whatever, right? And all I'm doing now is I chose to receive, let's say there was 15% of him actually being critical. Maybe let's say there was 75% of him actually being critical and 25% of him actually like having a good suggestion and just wanting to give something to her. Now what I've done is I have chose to receive the not good, the limitation, the disconnect. And now that's what I will experience because I have affirmed it to him, to me, and then distance ensues. As opposed to if I choose to receive that 15, 25, maybe 75, 85% of love, care, intention there or connection there, then that's what I'm actually experiencing. And I don't have to experience the rest. And then that just grows because I'm affirming it to him, I'm affirming it to myself, and it strengthens our bond instead of the opposite.
Yeah, it's a great way of putting it out, like in the numbers.
Yeah.
Just because maybe what you're sharing in that framing is that it's not about being in a place of denial. Oh, you live in la la land and your husband's just saying all these wonderful things to you all the time. We're being honest. We're saying we hear that there was criticism there, maybe, possibly. We'll acknowledge the possibility of there being a criticism there, but it wasn't the only thing that was there. And being somebody that wants to and is reaching for that connection, and being a makabel, so you have the capacity to choose what you receive, to receive wisely and selectively, you get to channel that. You get to direct that to where you want it to go.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
It's incredible. It takes a tremendous amount of strength and discerning to be able to do something like that. And the way I look at it is really using your feminine qualities to the best of your ability. You're taking that Bina, the analysis, the breaking down, and you're saying, okay, let's say it's just 25% of love and care, but I'm going to just hone in on that. And I'm going to be intentional about that. Then you're taking the gevura, right? The strength, the withholding, right? So I'm withholding myself from getting all hurt and upset, right? The discipline it takes to choose something and not the other thing is tremendous. You're using gevura in the right way instead of being judgmental. You're using it in the opposite way. I want to be objective here and I want to choose. I want to be intentional. And then you're stepping into height, which is like there's so much humility there. There's so much flow, openness, and trust, of course. And I think that's so beautiful because now you're choosing to align yourself with what you were saying earlier, like what is most attractive to a man, which is your receptivity. If you're aligning yourself with your Bina, Gvura, height, you're energetically bringing yourself right back to where you're supposed to be. And I'm not saying it's easy, but you're pulling those muscles to really actualize in the relationship.
Yeah, just a comment about easy and hard, because I get this sometimes in coaching from clients, and I hear it. People will say, that's really hard. Yeah, it's effortful. It's intentional. It takes energy. And also getting defensive, feeling hurt, getting insulted, being in a fight, being disconnected, that's also hard.
Yes.
That's also draining. So it's hard both ways, but they're very different types of hard. There's a hard of I'm building something, I'm, building muscle and connection. And then there's hard of I'm in pain and I'm suffering and I'm miserable and I'm the self-pity hard. So I wouldn't be afraid of the idea that it's hard. Yeah, sure. Most things in life that are meaningful require intention and effort. And I'm suggesting and recommending pick this hard over the other hard.
That was a really good point, Chayale. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so these are the examples that we wanted to bring to you, but we want to open up the floor for some other examples. So we're inviting our listeners to bring some examples, and God willing, in our next episode, we'll be discussing those. So wishing you a beautiful hug, and yeah, everyone should experience the connection.
Try us out, test us, bring us examples that happened to you, that you experienced, or that you're struggling with currently. Obviously, it will be anonymous, and we will process those examples through Trust the Connection, create with my thoughts, words, and intentions. And the more examples we get, the more we'll run through. And hopefully through this process of running through real life examples, we make it easier for you to integrate.
Beautiful.
Have a wonderful day.
Yeah. Email us at yourrelationship@gmail.com or reach out to us individually.
Bye.
Bye.
We would love to hear your feedback, thoughts, and questions.
Please leave a comment below or email us at yourrelationship@gmail.com.
Looking forward to connecting with you.
See you next time.